In recent days, Russia has proudly presented what it calls a wonder weapon, the Burevestnik, a nuclear-powered cruise missile with unlimited range. At least, that's what the Kremlin claims. But is it really a miracle of technology, or a flying mini Chernobyl, as critics describe it? Today, we'll explore the story behind this missile, the technology that powers it, and its supposed strategic purpose. And we'll look back at earlier attempts to create nuclear-powered cruise missiles, because this idea is far from new. It's almost 70 years old. The Russian 9M730 Burevestnik, known by NATO as the SSCX-9 Skyfall, has a long and secretive history. The project first appeared publicly in 2018, when Vladimir Putin unveiled it during his annual State of the Nation address as part of a new generation of invincible strategic weapons. According to Putin, this missile could circle the globe indefinitely and bypass any Western missile defense system. Analysts believe development started long before that, as Russia sought ways to counter growing American missile defense capabilities. Over the years, several test sites were identified, including Kapustin Yar, Nyonoksa, and Pankovo on Novaya Zemlya. In 2019, a test went terribly wrong. An explosion at a facility near the White Sea killed at least 5 nuclear scientists and 2 soldiers. Radiation levels in the nearby city of Severodvinsk temporarily spiked, strong evidence of a failed Burevestnik test. Despite the deadly setback, Russia continued. Observers saw this as a sign of political determination, either to overcome technical challenges or to create leverage in future arms control negotiations. By 2024, satellite imagery revealed a fixed launch complex near Vorkuta, including bunkers likely meant for nuclear warhead storage. That hinted at long-term operational readiness. Then, on October 21, 2025, Vladimir Putin announced that the Burevestnik had been successfully tested. According to footage released by the Kremlin, Russia's Chief of the General Staff, Valery Gerasimov, reported that the missile had flown 14,000 kilometers and remained airborne for 15 hours. Putin replied proudly, "This is a unique product that no one else in the world possesses." Norwegian intelligence later confirmed activity from the Novaya Zemlya region, but no independent verification of the flight data has ever been provided. Western experts remain deeply skeptical. Many describe the Burevestnik as risky, unstable, and of limited military use. Its true purpose, they argue, is political signaling rather than battlefield effectiveness. The idea of nuclear-powered flight actually dates back to the early Cold War. Both the United States and the Soviet Union explored it in the 1950s and 60s. The best-known project was the American Project Pluto, which aimed to build a nuclear-powered ramjet missile called the SLAM, Supersonic Low-Altitude Missile. The concept was terrifying. The missile would fly at supersonic speeds just above the ground, dropping multiple warheads, while its open nuclear reactor continuously spewed radioactive exhaust into the atmosphere. Between 1961 and 1964, the Tori IIA and Tori IC reactors were successfully tested in Nevada, proving the concept was technically possible, but at an enormous environmental cost. With the rapid progress of intercontinental ballistic missiles and submarine-launched nuclear weapons, the US cancelled Project Pluto in 1964. The Soviets explored similar designs, but for the same reasons: extreme radiation hazards, technical complexity, and limited practicality. Those programs were also abandoned. In short, nuclear-powered flight was deemed too dangerous, too dirty, and ultimately unnecessary. Now, decades later, Russia has resurrected this ghost of the Cold War. Officially, the Burevestnik uses a small nuclear reactor that takes over propulsion after a conventional booster launch. Air passes through the reactor core, is superheated, and expelled to create thrust, similar in principle to Project Pluto. But can it really work? Russian officials claim it can fly indefinitely. Western analysts disagree. Experts like Jeffrey Lewis have called it a flying Chernobyl. Others, including Foreign Policy magazine, describe it as technologically extreme, logistically impractical, and environmentally reckless. There are major technical issues. Guidance systems drift over long distances, satellite navigation can be jammed, and reliable communication across intercontinental ranges is extremely difficult. A missile that flies for 15 hours or more will inevitably lose accuracy. The longer it's in the air, the greater the chance it will be detected or intercepted. And because it relies on fixed launch sites, it would be one of the first targets in any conflict. Even if it truly exists, the Burevestnik's role is questionable. Its nuclear-powered engine would release radioactive particles during every flight, making each test an environmental hazard. No wonder international monitoring stations have yet to confirm any significant radiation spikes matching the claimed tests. Strategically, the Burevestnik seems like a weapon in search of a purpose. Its potential flight paths, low and unpredictable, could, in theory, bypass existing missile defenses. For example, it could approach the US from the south, over Mexico or Central America, directions from which no current defense systems are optimized to respond. But the truth is, NATO's missile defenses were never designed to stop a full-scale Russian nuclear attack. They're limited, and Russia already has more than enough ICBMs and submarine-launched missiles to guarantee retaliation. That means the Burevestnik doesn't really enhance deterrence. It just increases risk. Because it must launch from fixed bases, Russian commanders would be tempted to fire early in a crisis before those bases are destroyed. But launching a nuclear cruise missile early in a confrontation would almost certainly trigger full-scale nuclear war. In other words, this weapon could make Armageddon more likely, not less. In the end, the Burevestnik is less a weapon of war and more a weapon of symbolism. A message to both the Russian public and the outside world that Russia still possesses unique technology and can challenge the West. But from a practical standpoint, it's a dangerous illusion. Technically fragile, strategically redundant, and environmentally disastrous. If it ever truly becomes operational, it wouldn't mark progress. It would mark a step backward into the most dangerous thinking of the Cold War. The Burevestnik isn't a miracle weapon. It's a political statement, one that risks lives, spreads radiation, and burns resources, all to project the image of power. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I see you in the next one.